The new Black Yellow Koala Leader is insane, and I wanted to use this video to go over not only some of the synergies that it has with the leader, some of the cards you gain access to, but also some of the cards that it does and does not stop in the upcoming metagames when it eventually comes out in OP12. And also we'll have a commentary on it in terms of enabling versus disabling certain abilities. Bandai's maybe change in philosophy when it comes to Blackbeard and the original prison leader that came out recently, and potentially having more leaders down the line that do this, where again, they don't enable synergies, they stop what's going on around them. And this leader kind of does so in a very big way. And then finally at the end, have a little commentary on 4 Emperors and how powerful this leader is in terms of a multiplayer format, in terms of what it does. So let's read it from a translation perspective. First, revealed here, Koala is a black yellow leader. So in terms of what it get access to, very powerful effects. You have the removal and a lot of the mid-range top end pieces that yellow has. Heck, you have that in black as well, but we'll have to wait and see what type of general Dressrosa Revolutionary Army support that we get come down the line. Now we know that in general, we've been getting a lot of this recently, but we do have a lot of Dressrosa support recently in blue, but we have a lot of Dressrosa in black, and a little bit of Revolutionary Army in yellow as well, but a lot of it being in black. So we do get access to stage specifically, corridors, so that's going to be really nice. 4 life, 5k power. This is an OP12. When this leader attacks your opponent's leader, not characters, if you have 2 or more 8 or greater characters in play, draw 1 card. So it has to be specifically this leader attacking your opponent's leader. So it can't be your characters attacking your opponent's leader. It can't be your leader attacking your opponent's characters. If you have 8 or 2 or more 8 or greater cost characters in play, draw 1 card. Now, of course, if you have some type of effect that's able to increase the cost of your characters, that's great. Otherwise, you'll probably kind of be taking advantage of this later on in your 10 dawn turn and continuously, being able to draw 2 cards a turn is very powerful. We see this right now in the blue purple Luffy decks, and that's going to be a really interesting deck that this deck potentially stops. Now, of course, we can only make predictions at this point. This could be completely wrong. It could be like the whole Marco situation. Everyone thought the red blue Marco deck was the second coming of Sakazuki. It just didn't exactly have the spice that it needed, the difference between having black versus red and the support that it gets, and honestly, trashing a card versus placing it back on top, very different. And so all those aspects kind of came together to showcase that leader wasn't really was good enough to be that meta leader, and Koala could ultimately not end up getting there, but having a soft prison effect is really powerful in its second ability once per turn. So notably, if the translation is correct, this could happen on your turn and it could happen on your opponent's turn. When your opponent plays a character with an original cost of 8 or greater, or when your opponent plays a character through a character's effect, you may activate this ability. Your opponent adds the top card of their life to their hand. So not trashing, they do gain access to the card. They don't get the trigger, but notably gaining access to the card in case of you worrying about this, mattering in terms of math and all that stuff. Now, if there are characters that come down the line that play characters for your opponent, that won't trigger either, because your opponent has to play the character through another character's ability. So, let's not worry about any of that farther down the line. But this character does a lot in terms of prison elements, stopping or de-incentivizing the top end of a lot of strategies. There's a lot of 8, 9, 10 drops in the game that are central to every deck's strategy. There's a lot of characters right now, especially if you think about the Straw Hat variants, the Luffys of the world. There's a lot of leaders out there that rely on playing multiple characters a turn for tempo, for aggression, being zoo-based strategies that go wide. There's a lot of characters that are doing this. And so this leader off rip doesn't even require a dawn on it. Doesn't even require a dawn or 2, whatever on it. Disincentivizes all of that. Now, notably, it doesn't stop, again, leader abilities. So it doesn't stop stuff like Doflamingo, which I'm going to mention in a second, but it does stop, again, the characters. So this is going to be a huge thing in the metagame. I'm assuming a lot of people are going to be having conversations around this card, and I'm interested to see, before I go into the cards themselves and the synergies, let me know in the comment section down below, what are your initial impressions of Koala as a leader? Is there some key interaction that comes off the top of your head? Sound off down below. Let's hop into it. First and foremost, as I mentioned, this does not stop Doflamingo. The leader Koala cares about character abilities. Now, we do have Jinbei banned. Now, Koala would care about that, but in this case, Doflamingo cheating out other characters doesn't like it doesn't really worry about any of that. So that's kind of nice in that sense, but it does care about cards like Rebecca that, you know, then play up to 1 black character with the cost of 3 or less. Doesn't matter. You made a 4 Dawn play. Koala doesn't even require a Dawn on it. It doesn't require an activate main, nothing like that. It just takes the top card of that then black player's life and stops them. Now this isn't a symmetrical effect, this is your opponent's, so you're able to take advantage of the Rebecca ability, notably a Dressrosa character, but doesn't require anything like that. You're able to take advantage of something like this. Next up, it stops 9-cost Sanji, or not stops, it de-incentivizes this, and this is notable in a world where blue-purple Luffy is at the top of the metagame in a post-EB world. In OP11, in EB, I believe it's primarily just green-purple Luffy. I've been playing a crap ton of OP10, so I haven't really been paying attention to future metagames, especially in a world where a lot of people kind of estimate Nami is not going to be that good. I'm not super incentivized to play it just yet, but I think I will. Let me know in the comment section down below if you want to see that. But being able to de-incentivize the top leader in the metagame at the time, and again, I don't believe we have all the leaders in OP12 just yet, so we could have that change come down the line. Like Koala right now is a really powerful leader. A lot of people are going to make predictions as to how powerful it is, maybe placing it at the top, but for now, we just don't have all the information. We don't know the support that we're getting out of Dressrosa and the other prison elements that we could get in Dressrosa Revolutionary Army to help support this leader, because as I mentioned, we have a lot of black Dressrosa, a little bit of yellow Revolutionary Army and all that stuff. We have a lot of that in general. So when it comes to support, it's there, but being able to stop leaders is enough just by itself, right? So as in stop leaders in terms of their primary game plan. So the blue purple Luffy deck, primary part of its late game is looping, quote unquote, playing multiple 9-cost Sanji. So you grab the Sanji off leader ability, you grab your draw, you set that up, so you leave your cards on top, and then you then set up some type of Sanji flip to, you know, have that happen like twice, 3 times. At that point, you're probably winning the game if you can get this going like 2-3 times. But being able to disincentivize that off a top leader that's all over the metagame, that is also notably a 68 power, sure, but 3 life leader. So if you're able to stop that deck's late game, this is going to be a really powerful move off rip, off leader. Again, not requiring any cost. It could happen on your turn. If there's some ability that your opponent uses on their turn that like triggers on attack, on block, or something like that, they don't want to be using that, because that's going to trigger on your turn and on your opponent's turn. So they have to be very careful in terms of what Koala is able to do to them in the OP12 metagame. Notably, 10-cost Teach doesn't actually stop this, because you play 10-cost Teach, that triggers the leader. 10-cost Teach's ability to line up with Blackbeard is an activate main. So the ability on Koala already happens. And there's no like downstream effects like you can play 10-cost Teach, but then you already trigger the leader ability. So it's not like if you found some loophole, you could trigger it, like you avoid the trigger on the 10-cost, but then like later down the line, you just take the trigger off like 5-cost Kuzan or something like that. Like, I don't know, like you play the 10-cost, you're taking the hit. You're going to be too late on the activate main. You can't do it at any time before. So this is going to be a notable part where it's able to almost circumvent the prison leader of choice here. And a lot of people are having reactions about this. A lot of Blackbeard players are kind of looking there, you know, turning their heads and looking at something like this where Blackbeard has a very predictable game plan. We all know this. They search, trash, and they fill up their yard for a bunch of Burgesses, and they record them with 5-cost Kuzan, and they just play teach, and they just win the game, right? It's a very boring game plan. It's not dynamic. It's very predictable. Again, it's just the cards are generically good by themselves. You just have to get there. And that can be the big downside of the deck. Now, for now, having now access to yellow, having access to Dressrosa, having access to Revolutionary Army, and I say have access, it's really just the Dressrosa stage that you're limited by. Having access to these cards is going to be really powerful in terms of, again, a new prison leader, a leader that disincentivizes, if not hard stops, certain abilities from occurring down the line. When it comes to having access, you have something like Lucy, remembering that in yellow, you're going to be able to kind of rearrange the top of your life. So you get the top of your life, you tap something down with the 4 less, so maybe something like a blocker, and then you add the top of your deck to the top of your life if you're at 1 or less life cards. It's going to be very important. I mean, it's a 4 life leader, so it can happen. You do have to be worried about the early game aggression, but notably in terms of dealing with early game aggression, this deck has access to Corridor Coliseum, which is insane. It has access to 1-cost stage, so you're then going to be able to use your Dressrosa characters, which again, something like Lucy is, which is really cool, because you're going to be able to use that to attack characters the turn it's played. So if you're low, you're going to be able to use Lucy with stage out, have it come down, take the top of your life, and then tap something down, attack into something else, and then heal for 1. Very powerful. Having access to Corridor Coliseum and then stopping that top end is so powerful. And I think stuff like this is what's really going to let this leader get over top of what other leaders are trying to do. And so it's going to be really interesting to see if another stage comes about, what the other Dressrosa Revolutionary Army support is going to be come down the line once we get more OP12 spoilers, and a lot of it is going to provide more context as to what this leader is trying to do. So I'm really excited to see what a prison leader like this can do in the OPTCG. Now, the last bit that I want to mention is 2 sections here. So firstly, I'm like largely unconcerned for this card in terms of being a Nami problem, unless the support is insane, because black decks, generally speaking, are good matchups for Nami. Yellow decks generally are too. So I'm largely unconcerned in terms of the colors, again, unless the characters they revealed down the line for its support are insane. But specifically, the leader text is like almost irrelevant. Like if they have 2 8 or more characters, sure, they draw a card. That's not necessarily something that's preventing me from drawing cards or preventing my life. But Nami players don't play 8 cost or more characters. If your opponent has like a character, you play another character through an effect. Like we don't really have that either, right? Like Zeph bounces something, Kaya, like even like you have Searchers. Like yeah, there isn't, like even Mr. One recurs like an event from trash. Like there isn't really anything that Nami will commonly play that this deck stops. And so that's why I'm largely unconcerned about it from a Nami perspective. I'm happy to see it potentially stop the rest of the metagame in terms of, you know, put some of those green, are not necessarily green purple, but blue purple Luffy players on the back foot. And the other thing I want to mention is from a 4 Emperors perspective. So again, for those of you that don't know, I'm the owner of the 4 Emperors Discord, the multiplayer OPTCG format, the unofficial one that the Joy Boys made like a very big video on, and the format kind of blew up from there. But if you wanted to, by the way, link down below, join the Discord and play some multiplayer Commander EDH style One Piece. But this leader is like absolutely insane in this as well. The big bombs in that game are really powerful. Being able to trigger once on each turn is really powerful. Just being able to take everyone's life. And then on top of that, you have the yellow abilities like 7 Mom, 10 Mom, Tropical Torment, like all that stuff. Like you have those yellow abilities, and then the ability to have your black top end as well. And then just being able to draw 2 cards a turn is really powerful on your turn. So I think this leader is going to be really solid in terms of 4 Emperors play, and I'm definitely going to be looking at trying to build this leader. I was already excited about the new blue purple Sanji, because I myself found out that when it comes to 4 Emperors, at least in the One Piece TCG as a whole, I definitely feel like I'm a purple player. Like I came into this game through Nami, and I've primarily been playing Nami, but I feel like I've been held back from learning about purple. Purple is goated. That is a color. Purple does some saucy stuff. So I'm a big fan of purple. This leader may not be that, but I do like the control elements that it has. I do like the soft hate that it has for some of the top end leaders and how it disincentivizes that. A lot of people are just going to be holding up their bombs, trying to like make sure that this leader doesn't do too much. And sometimes they might just end up taking the hit, because getting access to some of those resources is really powerful. Regardless, I think this leader is really good. I'm excited to hear what y'all think about this. I'm excited to see what Twitter goes on about when it comes to this leader overall. But I'm excited for the future of the One Piece TCG when it comes to spoilers and some of the cool leaders that we're getting.